So, after a process of system purification through Panchakarma, we generally identify the right Rasayana for the individual. Then the question is, okay, what is the right Rasayana? Each individual's requirement is different. In some people, the blood is the weakest tissue. In some people, the bone is the weakest tissue. Why we need to help the weakest tissue? That's the main reason for many disease process. In the disease process, the aggravated dosha, that is vata or pitta or kapha or multiple, that affects the weakest tissue, the weakest spot on the system, causing the disease. And that weakest system, if we are not rejuvenating and nourishing and strengthening, there is a chance of recurrent relapses of the same disease in the same tissue or organ that can finally lead to disability and death. So identifying which tissue or which organ is weak and how we can nurture, nourish and strengthen those systems would be the key in ensuring longevity. Because in most of the cases, in most of the deaths due to diseases, the problem starts from a single organ as a very simple problem. As it prolongs, as it is not managed properly, it can lead to, chronicity and complications. While explaining the disease process in Ayurveda, it is mentioned that, one or multiple dosha increases and then aggravates. That aggravated dosha goes all over the system. It is called spread. It spreads everywhere in the system. And that spread dosha, it localizes in the weakest spot. In one individual, if liver is the weakest organ, he will develop liver disorder with that dosha. In some other individual, if skin is the weakest organ, that person will develop skin problems. And the same dosha, in some other individual, if kidney is the weakest organ, he or she will develop kidney disorder. So the probability of a disease depends upon which system is the weakest. This is the entire disease generation process explained in Ayurveda. First is the dosha increases. Then dosha goes beyond what body can handle, that is called the aggravation. The aggravated dosha spreads all over the body, and the spread dosha localizes in the weakest organ or the tissue and alters the tissue, manifesting the disease. And that manifested disease goes through various stages of the disease and then with the complication if it is not attended properly. From that standpoint, the Rasayana for that individual will be the one that nourishes the weakest dhatu or the tissue. Because if there is weakness, then only the disease develops. This is a very powerful concept. That is why when we do a course of detox program, the purification program, cleansing program, Panchakarma, if we understand that, this particular system is weak, then we'll be selecting the herbs or the Rasayana formulation based on that. For example, if somebody is coming with a recurrent, cough or bronchitis, if it is happening recurrently, we know that lung is the weakest organ, and we may select a Pipali Rasayanam or an Agastya Rasayanam or a Chavanaprash, which is having a specific rejuvenating effect on the lungs. So the approach of Rasayana is to strengthen, nourish the weakest tissues, weakest organs, so that we can prevent the relapse, the possible relapse and keep the individual healthy for a long period. So from the clinical standpoint, the clinical application of Rasayana, or we call it as Naimittika Rasayana. Rasayana for a reason. Nimitta means reason. Rasayana for a reason. Or the disease-specific Rasayana is from this approach. Once we are able to rejuvenate the weak system or weak organs, the chance of relapse of the disease can be prevented. That will enhance, the longevity and, balance of health